All right, here we are, week 4. Big
Power
week.
ranking.
Big week. A lot of low scoring, except for a couple teams. Tim, this might be your last week as the number 1.
I thought I was done for until about 9:30 p.m. on Monday night. I had written myself off, but your man Jaden Daniels, dumped it off to Zach Ertz a few different times, and that was enough.
Yeah, he only needed to score 3.5 more points, and I would have won my game.
Yours was a lot closer than I think you thought it would be, and maybe you have a quarterback now.
Yeah, we'll see. Would have helped if Brian Robinson would have scored a little bit more to help out, but he's still been kind of solid. But I was shocked because I didn't get to watch either of the Monday night games. I knew I had with Zach Moss going that I would have a decent shot at maybe catching, but it seemed like it was too big, and yeah, it just didn't happen. But you've got some issues with your team. Other people have some issues with their teams. We've got some big comebacks. Sam's team is just surging.
Nathan's team is still unnamed.
Nathan's team's unnamed and doing better. I believe Sam and Nathan are the top 2 points for in the league now. So the Rotobaws are on the takeover. So let's get to our winners and losers. First winner of the week, we've got Lucas, who outlasted me.
Just barely.
He had a tough performance from Anthony Richardson, 5 points as his quarterback, but was boosted by Jonathan Taylor, Derrick Henry, and somehow Devin Singletary.
Yeah, I was going to say he's got 2 powerhouse running backs, and then apparently Devin Singletary can get over 10 points, but that's always nice.
Yep, I believe Lucas had the 3rd most points in the league at 114 for this week. The 2 others happened to be in the same game. So Lucas was able to outlast. He would have beat basically every other team with that, but really only had 3 players score very high. Stephon Diggs was fine, but good game from Lucas. His team looks pretty solid going through, especially since he's been having some trouble with Zach Kelsey, but it looks like Dallas Goedert might be coming along. He had a big game sitting on the bench.
Yeah, it's nice to have him.
Your matchup, which was very tight, a narrow 93.3 points to beat out Libby. So the 2 undefeateds enter, 1 comes out.
I feel like I kind of got away with a win here. Scoring under 100 points, but Libby was beating me pretty soundly and projected to win the entire weekend. And then, I get just to squeak by in the end. I'll take the win, but I still don't feel like I'm a great team.
Yeah, you got a little bit fortunate that the Buffalo game got so out of hand that Josh Allen basically didn't really have to do anything after the half. Libby decided to start Ramondre Stevenson, who got 0.3 points, so that was tough. Montgomery and Amon-Ra helped carry the way the rest of the way. J.K. Dobbins back to earth. But Cam Akers looks like he's going to be getting a majority of the carries going forward. So
and maybe next week too. But yeah, my trade kind of bit me this week with Jalen Hurts only getting me 10 points and then Kittle out again. But Jamar Chase finally remembered that he was a top 5 wide receiver in the league, and I think that was nice to get that performance from him.
So, Tim, I checked the waiver wire right before we recorded, and the 4th-ranked quarterback in fantasy football is still available.
I'm not taking him. I'm not going to touch that potato chip.
Take him before the Packer game. Do it.
You can't make me. You have no idea how much I want to, but I know that I shouldn't.
I've been starting him in my Yahoo league. He's my guy.
Somebody else should. Like, honestly, somebody else take Sam Darnold. Take this temptation away from me. I don't need him.
I love it. I love that he's just sitting there and no one will take the bait. Our next winner is Sam, 103 points to Seth, who was the poop fecta this week, 63 points. Terrible game. Sam had Malik Neighbors, who's one of the best wide receivers in the league, even though he's a rookie. Khalil Shakir, who's the best wide receiver on
good.
Buffalo, Buffalo scores like 30 points every game they play now too. Alvin Kamara had a decent week, even though the Saints weren't good. He's kind of beat up this week though, so we'll see how Kamara does going forward. Sam just solid all around, got over the 100-point mark. That's all you needed. He picked up Roma Dunze, who he didn't play, but as we said last week, of course he does well when he's not on my team. So
yeah,
at least he didn't get the point benefit from it. Wes beat Tom. Everyone beats Tom. Wes had 90 points. Solid performance.
Wes has the third lowest points for, and the third lowest points against. He's winning his matchups, but he's not dominating.
He just finds a way to win. It's annoying, but he does it. Jordan Mason again came back to earth. He only had 9.8. Rashee Rice is he the number one wide receiver in fantasy? He might be.
Good question.
He's
number four.
All right. So, West survives. And then our big game of the week with the two teams that had the two highest scorers, or actually, no, Stefan beat out Drew.
But it happened to Drew again, and we can get to him later, but it happened to Drew again.
Yep. So Nathan, big game from Kyron Williams, Brock Purdy. Brees Hall had a really solid game, and he had the Packers defense. And then Chuba Hubbard
with 25 points.
You got that Andy Dalton juice.
Yeah. Boy, Andy Dalton is still relevant 10 years later. Who would knew?
Yeah. Nathan also could have started two other players that had better games. Deontay Johnson, 22 points on his bench. Dak Prescott, even though Brock Purdy had a good game, Dak Prescott had 27 points. So he could have had even more. Nathan's back on top.
He's looking really good.
He's going to have to figure out what to do with his wide receivers. I think Deontay Johnson has got a hamstring injury this week.
Yeah,
so
he was out today.
We'll see what happens with him, but I think the Panther wide receivers with Dalton are going to be better. We'll see if Tyreek stays that bad. Jaden Reed. Well, who knows, man? Packer wide receivers a crapshoot. But I think the Packers defense could be solid if they just a historic turnover rate. It's crazy. Final game of the week, Stefan, who was one of the lower ranked teams last week. I believe I had him second to last. Big game, 116 points. Lamar Jackson broke free, 23.9 points. Jahmyr Gibbs had a big game. And Juwan Jennings, who he picked up, started 41 points.
He is actually now ranked second overall for wide receivers, probably in a big part from last week. He got him for $20 on waivers, which I kind of raised my eyebrows at, but now it is totally validated. Spend $20 for that.
He was listed as the number one pickup last week. I don't think anybody thought he would go off as crazy as he did. Amari Cooper had a big game on his bench. Mike Evans was down, so we'll see where he decides to go from there. Stefan also got Carson Steele. He had 8 points. I mean, not great, but he got a lot of carries. So, did you hear the story about how his sister had a wedding on Sunday?
No, I didn't.
So his entire family was at his sister's wedding on his first start in his NFL career. So no one was at his game.
Did his alligator come to the game?
I don't know.
My only question.
I don't know. All I know is that's a slap in the face by the family. You got to reschedule that. You can't have a wedding on Sunday.
That's true. I do love the white running back. we don't have Christian McCaffrey right now, so he's filling that role. He's more like a Peyton Hillis, and I love to see it. I hope he has a great season.
Yeah, losers of the week. Me had a big game from Jaden Daniels. Can't really figure out my second running back / flex position, so that's kind of been costing me. Garrett Wilson had a good game but didn't score a lot of points, which was just frustrating. I don't know, 40. I think he had 40 yards and a touchdown, which is only 11 points, but he had his best game of the season. My bench does nothing, so I have really no idea what to do with my team going forward. I just kind of have to. I think Wes offered me a trade for Josh Jacobs and for Garrett Wilson straight up. I was like, if that's not a terrible trade, I would think about it, but I have no idea who I would start in my second wide receiver spot. So it doesn't really help me at all.
I don't think you have a bad team, especially if Jaden Daniels is legitimate. You just need the Bears to figure out if they want to have a run game or not.
Well, the Packers had 200 yards rushing in the first quarter against the Colts, and DeAndre Swift barely scored 5 points against them. So they're just weird and wild team. Libby was a loser. He still is a pretty solid team. He had a low point total this week. Brock Bowers wasn't as good as normal. Zay Flowers not as good as normal. And then he started Ramondre Stevenson, which really killed him. And he had Aaron Jones on the bench, who scored 23.
Yeah, I think that's the real killer, is that if he starts Aaron Jones, it's over.
Yeah, he cruises to that one. Who do we got? Oh, Seth. Yeah, Seth, terrible. Just absolute travesty of a week. Connor was bad. Achane was bad. Stroud was bad. Stroud got benched. That's how bad he was. Tank Dell is now hurt. He didn't start Terry McLaurin, who had 18 points on his bench. And his backup quarterback is Trevor Lawrence, who is also bad.
Yeah, so it's not looking good.
Seth is in a bad spot. Tom just
even worse.
Can't figure it out. Again, he's got the Matthew Krantz. He's got the best player in fantasy football, Saquon Barkley, on the worst team. 31 points for Saquon. It doesn't matter. Rashid Shaheed, 0 points on the start. He could have played his Bronco guy, Cortland Sutton, done a little bit better there at 10.3, sitting on the bench. Again, his backup quarterback is Justin Herbert, who is also hurt and doesn't score even when he does play. So Tom is in tough shape. C. Lamada had a bad week. Yes, Tom remains the only winless team. Drew, we talked about it a little bit. Tough performance. Decided to go with Baker Mayfield at quarterback, riding that out. Not looking good. James Cook is good. Zach Charbonnet had a good game, but just, not enough when you're playing Nathan and he's got players going off there.
It's a bad matchup. And he's got the dubious Luke Shazer award of most points against right now. And it's not even close. It's by a wide stretch that he has that, and his points for are high too. So he's drawn bad matchups.
Yeah, I think Kenneth Walker is currently in his starting lineup this week, so he must be confident that Kenneth Walker's coming back. I don't know if he's done anything at his quarterback position or if he's starting Baker again. He's a Sam Darnold team. Drew, think about it.
Yeah, Drew, come on. He's all you need. I don't need him, but you need him.
And then Ross. Big comeback last week. I jumped him up the power rankings because I thought Ross was back. He did run into one of the higher scoring teams this week. So even if he would have had a solid game, who knows if he would have won. But he only scored 81 points. Not good. Patrick Mahomes was fine. He's got a tough look at his two running back spots, Zeke and Pollard. And Waddle. Waddle is probably the main loser from Tua being out. And I don't see that getting any better. Jacoby Myers, 17.7 points on his bench, so he kind of missed out there. Bucky Irving is kind of the hot name on the streets for a guy that might have a better end of the season. So watch out for Ross starting some Bucky Irving and him having some big games.
Or he'll go with his Wisconsin Badger, Braylon Allen, and maybe he'll get some magic there.
Yeah, so I pointed out to Tim that Jahmyr Gibbs this week had 0 receptions for 24 yards and a touchdown. I did not watch any of the game, so I asked Tim how this was possible. Tim also didn't know, and it was clarified for me this week that Amon-Ra pitched him the ball, and then he ran 24 yards to the touchdown. So Amon-Ra gets the reception. Gibbs gets all the receiving yards after the pitch and the score. So he had the infamous 0 receptions for 24 yards and a touchdown.
That's weird.
Yep.
My brain hurts.
That was my favorite stat line of the week. One of the weirder stat lines in fantasy football that you can possibly get.
Welcome to our two streamers. Is it Sam and Libby again? I don't know, but whoever you are, welcome to the stream.
All right, let's get to the power rankings.
Yep. I'll share them quick. This is what you're here for.
So this week I adjusted a little bit. So I went away from kind of the college rankings, decided to go with some potentially worse from a record standpoint teams. Tim remains at the top spot. Tom remains at the bottom. Those are 2 unchanged. I put myself second to last. Even though I scored over 100 points, looking at my team going forward, I don't think I'm going to end up with a very good record at the end of the year. So I would not be surprised if I'm one of the bottom 3 teams by record at the end of the year.
I think you're too skeptical, but that's fine.
Could be, but it's going to be all matchups going forward. I don't think I'm going to, be good to go all the way through. Ross, I had him up to 5 last week. I had to bring him back down. You can't score 80 points and lose and then remain in that middle group. So Ross is down at the bottom with me and Tom. Is that Seth there?
Yeah, it's Seth, number 9.
So this was the big adjustment that I made. So Seth does have a winning record of 2-1, I believe. And his team is just so bad that even though he has a winning record, I had to put him near the bottom of the pile here. Stefan showed some stuff with that win this week. Yeah, he had a big performance from one player, but let's see if he can kind of stay in that middle of the pack going forward. I had a little bit more confidence in him than Seth. So I think those two will probably stay around there. Lucas has those 2 powerhouse running backs. I think he's going to keep creeping back up this list. He was 10th last week. I got him at 7. Wes, the luckiest guy in fantasy currently, is going to stay right about in the middle there. And then Drew, who has a losing record, but one of the highest points for in the league, is going to sit at 5. Libby, because of the loss, I had to knock him down to 4. He was 2 last week. Nathan and Sam.
The Road Bros are 2 and 3.
They could be 1 and 2 next week. We'll see how that turns out. And again, Tim at the top, but I see that team falling.
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, I figured I'd be number 1 because of being undefeated, but that's the only claim to fame that I really have.
Joe Alt is injured for the Chargers. He's big help in the running game. Could be why J.K. Dobbins didn't have as good of a game this last week. I think if J.K. isn't like a top 10 running back for you going forward, you're going to be in a tough spot.
Oh, yeah.
Also, a lot of other ticky-tack injuries along the way.
Yeah, and difficult decisions to make. Like, do I start Hurts? Do I start Burrow? it could be a toss up. So I don't know. And yeah, injuries are going to be tough.
Thank you, Sam. Unfortunately, Lucas would not let me win in the week that I got engaged. So I thought that was pretty rude of Lucas's team to not bow down and allow me to have that win during my special week.
It's a poopy move.
What are we going to do? Fortunately, I don't believe I'll be getting married during the football season. So I won't have to worry about a team bowing out to allow me to win during my wedding week.
That's good to know.
Anything else from the week, Tim?
We won't have to miss my NFL debut. I didn't know that I don't know what position I would be if I were in the NFL. Drew, I don't know if you listen to this. You probably don't. But I just want you to know that even though the standings and your matchups don't respect you, that we respect you. And I'm sure it feels good that your Seahawks are also 3-0, just like my Vikings are 3-0. So I see you.
Yeah, so next week we've got me playing Libby. Libby's projected to win. I think that's going to be another loss for me. Drew is playing. Who is that? That's
Seth. I'm still figuring out the team names, but that's Seth. So I think that should be a win.
So, yeah, I would guess Drew is going to get back to 500 there. Tim, you're playing Wes, so you're probably going to lose. You're projected to lose. But I'm sure it'll be like 78 to 77.9.
It's going to be something like that. I'm sure Rashi Rice is going to make all the difference.
Yeah, before he goes to jail. Sam is playing Tom, so that's a win. And Lucas is playing Ross. That should be a decent game. I think Lucas is going to go back to 500 there. Yeah, he's projected 12 points higher currently. And then Nathan versus Stefan. I mean, unless Juwan Jennings has another crazy game, I think we're going to have Nathan and Sam at the top next week.
This is a good test for Stefan, though, to see if he's legitimate or not. He's only projected a couple points behind. I don't know if he's got Debo on his bench. I don't know if Debo's going to play, but you start Juwan Jennings. I don't think Brock Purdy knows that Brandon Ayuk even exists, or maybe he's got a grudge against him for his holdout because I own him in another league and I was frustrated that he didn't do anything. I don't know, but I would be, and maybe Jahmyr Gibbs will go off too, and I'll regret my trade even more. But that's a matchup I think I'll be keeping an eye on.
Yeah, the Rams are playing the Bears, who have a decent defense. So I don't see Kyron having a crazy good game, but you never know with running backs. He could stumble in for 2 touchdowns and not have that many yards. Bears are pretty bad, man.
We've got Packers Vikings this week too.
Packers Vikings, big game. I think the Packers are favored by 2.5 points.
Vikings are underdogs. I think probably just because of being away.
It looks like Jordan Love, at least Vegas seems to think that Jordan Love is going to play. So
Jordan Love and Malik Willis both available in our league.
I mean, 2 of the best 5 defenses in the league right now, going head to head.
Yeah.
One team gives up not a lot of points. The other team just happens to have 7 interceptions.
It's going to be interesting, especially because LaFleur can just, make up a new offensive scheme every week if he wants to. But
I worry, my slight worry is that Love's going to come back and we won't have as creative of a scheme. So it won't work against the Vikings.
Yeah, fair. But I feel like I just have memories of that New Year's Eve game where he just completely lit us on fire. Now, we have Aaron Jones. We also have one Robert Tunyon on our practice squad, and I would love to call him up and have him play his revenge game. That would be a lot of fun.
The Lions are playing Seattle, so we got a
that's interesting.
Libby versus Drew showdown there. I don't know who's home for that game. I'm interested to see if Malik Neighbors continues to be one of the best wide receivers in the NFL, because rookies don't normally do that, especially in fantasy for the entire year. But he's been kind of a dominant force. Sam's got him in our league. He's one of the top teams in our league. And the other league that I'm in, the team that's in second place has him. So he's kind of been the catalyst to having a good fantasy football team this year.
He's also single-handedly justifying Daniel Jones's contract, because even after week 1, when the Vikings beat them, everybody was talking about how they shouldn't have paid Daniel Jones. But
it's crazy that the Giants have had Odell Beckham Jr., who's like one of the best rookie wide receivers ever, and now have Malik Neighbors, and yet have never, or I don't even think they went to the Super Bowl with Odell Beckham.
No,
I think that was like they got him after they beat the Patriots and weren't very good with him. So they'll probably still not be good with Malik Neighbors.
Yeah, it will be interesting to see if it is sustainable or not. Marvin Harrison Jr. is also doing decently too. But we'll see. We're still early in the season. Things can happen.
So the two teams that it seems like Bill Belichick is probably going to be coaching next year are either the Giants or Jacksonville. So it's very interesting. It would be cool to see him with the Giants. It would be tough that he was in the NFC. I feel like there's no way he would go to Jacksonville, but they do have Trevor Lawrence, who he could do a reclamation project on. Do you think Bill Belichick would make Trevor Lawrence cut his hair so that he looked more like Tom Brady?
That's the thing. I don't think that a young quarterback of our generation or the generation below can handle the Belichick coaching. So I don't think that Belichick can coach anymore. I just don't think there's personality fits. But also Jacksonville sucks, and I don't think that anybody can fix them. They should get Byron Leftwich to be their coach. That never happened, even though it should have.
Yeah, that didn't. He wasn't the greatest offensive coordinator ever.
No, he wasn't.
I think he won a Super Bowl with Tom Brady.
Yeah.
Do you think that when Belichick comes back to the NFL, that his first move is going to be to trade for Ladd McConkey?
I don't know. He's gonna get all of the Patriot guys back. It's gonna be like Brian Flores is doing this actually with the Vikings, but he's just gonna be recouping all of his people.
Yeah, he's gonna get
Matt Patricia be his offensive coordinator, which would be a mistake.
Yeah, well, he'll get Carson Steele from.
Oh yeah, he's a Belichick guy. He's a Belichick guy for sure.
He'll play him both ways. He'll be a linebacker and their fullback.
No, I don't know. I'm sure Belichick's going to come back to the NFL, but I think it's kind of over for him.
Have you watched any of the Fox games with Brady doing the commentary?
No, I go out of my way to not have anything to do with Brady.
I haven't really either. The little bit that I have tuned into, basically anything that he says, every other person that's on the broadcast is like, "Oh my gosh, Tom, what a great point."
Which is interesting because he's technically not allowed to say anything because he owns an NFL team.
Yeah. Great game by the refs today. Thought they earned their paycheck. Good job by them.
I'm not going to say anything about the coaches or certain players, though they would look really good in black and silver. Oh, no!
Oh, Brady. All right. Well, that wraps that up. I've got a recording in about 20 minutes on one of the worst movies I've ever seen in my life.
I have never seen Batman and Robin.
I would recommend not seeing it. I think there must be some person that's doing the analytics at HBO Max that's like, why has the viewing of Batman and Robin gone up 300% this week? And it's because me and Chris have watched the movie like 4 times between the two of us.
Could you find a guest, or is nobody was having it?
No guest. We did have our first guest ever last week,
Yeah,
Nick
it was good.
Donolo, who was great. He'll be on at some point in the future. But yes, guesting is open. I did realize that if you are going to do it over Zoom, you do have to understand how to record yourself, or else it's going to sound terrible. So that's going to really, there's going to be a line. There's a technological line that you're going to have to be able to hurdle over in order to be a remote guest.
You can't just go. You got to go all in for the podcasting, which means that when you do your Star Wars prequels, I'll have to buy my microphone, and I'll go off on how you're all wrong.
I'm dreading doing Star Wars. It's 9 movies now.
You don't have to, but
we do. That's the problem. we do. Trust me, we're halfway through the Alien movies, and I was like, do we have to do all these? We have to.
Well, you're getting to the good part of Batman. You just got to get this one out of the way.
We are. All right. I don't think anyone's chiming in on the chat. We hit our marks. We hit our things that we need to, and we will see you next week.
Football.
Football.
Go!